Welcome to i-Junkets for Resident Evil. We're here with actress Milla Jovovich. Feel free to send in your questions now.
Please, just a question. Somebody say something, please.
Milla, what inspired you to do this film?
Well, my little brother thinks I'm God now, and that was pretty much all the incentive I needed. Like he would come to visit me over the summertime, and we would literally play Resident Evil 4 or 5 hours a day. And I was like, this is the coolest girl in the world. She's going down underground, killing zombies in a miniskirt and a tube top. I mean, you can't get any cooler than that. So I was like, I have to do this movie. I'm the only actress in Hollywood that can do this movie. And that's what I told the director, and got the part.
Just that easy?
No, I had to do 3 callbacks, and it was not that easy, but pretty easy. I mean, I don't think he had any choice, really.
What were the most fascinating aspects about playing Alice?
Well, apart from the fact that I get to do really cool stunts and look really hardcore and tough and sexy, it was interesting to play a character that wakes up with no memory of who she is or where she is and sort of gets sucked into this whole debacle underground. And as she gets her memory back, she realizes that, you know, she's got some talents that she didn't know about that have to do with kicking things in the head and killing, and ends up really taking over the whole group and having to lead them out of this horrendous situation.
Have the online Resident Evil community, fans of the game and the movie, have they been a large help or hindrance to the creation of the movie?
We made this movie primarily for the fans of the game. I'm a huge fan of the game. All the actors involved are big fans of the game. And the director is like gaga over this game, and it was a dream of his to make Resident Evil the movie, which is pretty different. You don't hear that every day, just directors wanting to make video game films. So this was definitely a passion project, and everybody involved just wanted to make it as true to the game as possible, as scary as possible, and pretty much make sure that everybody that went to see it left with the feeling that I really saw a hardcore rated R movie.
There's already talk about a sequel. Do you know how far along the script is and how this came about?
Well, listen, we have the best story for a sequel, but we have to see how the movie does before anybody's going to give us the money to make a sequel. But I'll just give you a hint. Imagine GTA, only in Raccoon City, and of course, rather than real people, we have to hit zombies. And we have to get from one end of the city to the next to escape. And that's just one element of the next film.
What was it like working with Michelle Rodriguez and Paul Anderson?
Well, Michelle, I would say, as of today, thinks I'm a complete freak. And I think she's pretty freaky herself. But she was really funny to work with because for me, you know, I'm a real girl. I like to shoot guns. I like to wear lipstick, you know. And Michelle is just more of the shooting guns type. She doesn't like to wear lipstick. So I would always scare her. You know, every time she'd piss me off, I'd just get lipstick and mark you up. Like, man, get away from me! Get that away! Be like, oh yeah? Come on. Just come on, Michelle. Give it to me. So it was very easy to freak her out. And Paul is just great because, again, I think he's the perfect person to make a movie like this because he is so passionate about video games and he loves to play video games so much. So I felt really lucky that he was the one directing this movie because I knew that he would make sure that this movie was everything every fan of Resident Evil wants in a Resident Evil movie.
Were you scared of the zombies, seeing as how they looked extremely realistic?
You know, the zombies, I have to admit, were pretty disgusting on set. And even though, I mean, we knew it was makeup, they just looked dirty. We didn't want to get too close to them. You know, they had like cold sores running up their cheeks and stuff and flesh hanging off, and it was pretty disgusting. And I mean, they're nice people, you know, and they worked really hard, but just you didn't want to get too close to them.
You're starting to be known as an action hero. Would you rather do more glamorous romantic roles, seeing as how you're a model as well?
Well, I would love to do a romantic comedy because I've never done that before. And, you know, I've always taken these kind of intense subterranean parts. Because I'm always trying to prove that I'm a real actress. I'm not just a model, you know? And finally I just said, you know what? I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I know I'm a good actress, you know, and I've gone through enough hell making movies to kind of feel comfortable with myself. So now I would like to make a romantic comedy. Why not? I've never done that before. No one's ever seen me do that before. And I think following Resident Evil, that would be sort of the perfect step.
Would you like to act opposite anyone in particular?
Gosh. You know, there's a lot of really great actors out there. I don't know.
No one pops to mind?
No one pops into my head. I mean, but there's a lot of people that pop into my head, but I mean, I'm not going to start listing off every actor in Hollywood, but there's a lot of great talent out there, especially the females. I mean, I'd love to make a movie with Cate Blanchett. I think she's super cool and just such an amazing actress. And, you know, I think Kate Hudson is really cute and really wonderful, but kind of not, I guess, in the style of the Resident Evil fans. But, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm kind of more into the female actresses around today than the male, even. So, I couldn't really think about the men that I want to work with.
Which is your favorite Resident Evil game, and do you have a favorite character?
3. Well, Nemesis. I mean, Nemesis rules. And in the Resident Evil movie, it was, like, sort of hit us with inspiration because we were kind of rewriting the script as we were going along, and like this new ending popped into our head that kind of explained where Nemesis comes from. And even though Nemesis is not in this movie, hopefully you guys will love this movie enough so we can make the next one where he will be the big star. But you go to see this movie, you'll understand where Nemesis was born.
Are you afraid of being cast as a Lara Croft, or seen as a Lara Croft kind of character now?
Not at all, because there's like, between Tomb Raider and Resident Evil, it's like two opposite ends of the spectrum, you know? Tomb Raider is much more commercial, it's much more PG-13, it's just much more of like the Disneyland of action, you know, sort of films like this, or action video games. Resident Evil, it's kind of cult classic. I mean, it's dark, it's hardcore. My character, I don't know, you could never compare her to Lara Croft because she's just much crazier and much more violent and just much gorier. I mean, there's no comparison. You're not going to get the same crowd, I think, that they got for Tomb Raider that are going to go see this movie. That's for sure. I think that they got for Tomb Raider that are going to go see this movie. That's for sure.
Can you tell us about the screenplay's allusions to Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah, you know, Alice in Wonderland, when she goes through the rabbit hole, she has this amazing, I'm not going to quote her exactly, but the spirit of what she says is, I don't know who I am, and if the person that I really am I don't like, I don't want to go back up. And that was something really inspiring for us because I felt like Alice, my character, felt exactly the same way because she doesn't know who she is at the beginning. And as she remembers bits and pieces, she might be the bad guy. And she knows that if she caused this accident, maybe if she's responsible for the deaths of so many people, you know, she would rather die down here than go back up and face herself.
Do you plan on teaming up with Luc Besson, the director of Fifth Element, anytime soon?
If he wants to. I mean, if he wants to, that would be great. I mean, he's amazing, and we work really well together. But I heard that he doesn't really want to make movies anymore, but I don't believe it, because I feel like when somebody's an artist like that, it's just impossible to stop, you know.
Aside from all the physical training required, how did you prepare for the role in terms of character development?
You know, every role that I go into, I want to make sure that it's a real person. I want to make sure that since I'm playing the part, that I'm as real as possible and that I'm sort of, it's all coming from an honest place. You know, the one great thing about my life right now and sort of where I am in my career is that I've done enough films where I know when I'm lying. As soon as I say a line and it's like not comfortable, I just know immediately that this is not right. So in a lot of ways, that's really wonderful because I know exactly when I need to do something again, and I know exactly how it feels to be honest about something. So every part that I go into, it's a pretty long process of figuring out how this person laughs, how this person walks, you know, their past, where they came from. I mean, there was so much talk about what happened the day before, what was supposed to happen the next day, what was you know, in her life, if this accident didn't happen, where was she going to go? Where did she just come from? What has she done the month before? What has she been doing this year? All that comes into play. I mean, there's so much thought and so much work that goes into, I mean, at least for me, to make a character real for myself. And I just love that part of the job because it's the funnest to just use your imagination and figure out really cool things for yourself and the character.
Were the dogs virtual, or were they actually there in front of you?
Okay, the dog that I kicked was virtual, but all the other dogs were real. Yeah, the dog that I kicked was a puppet, and I mean, they had like a string with a tennis ball hanging, and every time I ran up the wall, I had to kick this tennis ball. And that was super cool because, you know, it's just so satisfying to like kick something and get it right on the mark, and just it's the same as like shooting a ball into a basket, shooting something with a gun and hitting it. I love that feeling. So that was really fun. And then we started with the baseball, and then they would put like the plastic dog in, and then I'd have to hit the plastic dog's head, which is really cool. But the other dogs were totally real and pretty vicious. I mean, they're security dogs. They're not stunt dogs. So in effect, you know, they would let the dogs loose and just tell me to run really fast. And, you know, that was all the motivation I really needed to do those things.
I guess. Do you agree that Michelle Rodriguez plays the part which corresponds to the classical male role schema, while Alice has to walk through the movie in a short, sexy skirt and remains most of the time pretty passive?
Well, I guess you haven't seen the movie, because Alice is in no way passive, and definitely, she wears a short skirt, and in a way, is like the stereotypical sexy girl, in an action film. But you know, I think that's also the whole point of the video game. I mean, you look at Jill Valentine; she's got a mini skirt and a tube top. You know, we couldn't find a logical reason for me to go down in a mini skirt and a tube top. So we figured out this evening gown that sort of gets shorter and shorter as the movie goes on. But I think just the fact that we had Michelle in the movie playing the sort of opposite end of the spectrum from my character should show you that we wanted to have both stereotypes in the film. And I think we both play them well enough that they kind of transcend being stereotypes and become real people. I think a lot of people would be disappointed if me and Michelle looked exactly the same in the film and wore the same outfit. I think a lot of people will appreciate my short skirts. And I think it really added something to the movie that would have I would have been sorry to see it go. And I'm sure a lot of you guys, after seeing the movie, would be very happy with my choices.
Along the same lines, there mostly have been male action hero stars. Do you think that this is changing, that there are going to be more female heroes, or is it just a kind of a trend?
I don't think it's a trend at all. I think women are every year becoming stronger and stronger, especially the way they're represented on film and the media. You know, the male action hero is already so done. It's already like every aspect of it we've seen already. So the female action hero is kind of this territory that has only just been, can I say penetrated? So I think it's really exciting because more and more you have females on screen kicking butt. I mean, video games are completely centered around hot females with guns. So I think it makes a lot of sense to really start making a lot more movies where women are taking control, where women are hot, they're tough, they're smart, they're gorgeous. I mean, I think every woman in the world is going to be able to stand behind that.
That said, would you like to play more movies like this?
Yeah, I mean, I want to make Resident Evil 2 more than anything, but I love action films because I already do so many of these kind of serious roles that it's fun for me sometimes to just have a good time, make an action film, run around, be sexy, you know, do like gratuitous skin shots, you know, whatever, just to like have a good time rather than always be intense, always be in character. I mean, it's so much of a strain on your personality and on your emotions to have to work on a film for 4 months, or let's say Joan of Arc that I did The Messenger for 9 months. I mean, I was exhausted after that film because not only did we have the action, but also the emotion of her. I mean, every day was almost hell because you have these long, long hours, and all day you're kind of in this state. It's really hard to go home and fall asleep. I mean, you're up most of the night thinking about things, and so it was great for me to do this because, okay, it was hard, it was physically exhausting, but at the same time, emotionally, I got to take a break. So I like making movies like this. I'd like to do more. I'd love to play Alice from, not Alice from Resident Evil, this movie, but Alice the PC game, where Alice in Wonderland, 15 years later, has to go into Wonderland, which is like dark now, with a butcher knife and save it and kill all these things.
So if it's that exhausting, how do you relax after a hard day on the set?
Pretty much get home, play guitar, you know, drink a glass of wine, whatever, just relax. Just sit around and pretty much do nothing.
You play guitar. You've had an album out before. Are you working on new material for another one?
Well, for me, like writing is as natural as, you know, anything else in my life. So I'm constantly writing things down, writing diaries, writing poetry, writing songs. So it's been what, like 8 years since my record came out. I have hundreds of hours worth of music at this point, and it's pretty much just going in there, going through it with a producer and figuring out which songs I want to do and doing them. But I've been working a lot on films, and I can't even look at the shelf with all my music on it. I just add new things every week and just kind of forget about them as soon as I write them. But I don't know, I'm going to be on Carson Daly, and they asked me to come and play guitar on the show. So if you guys watch that, you know, I'll play a song acoustically.
All actors and actresses say they learn a lot from making some movies. What did you learn from Resident Evil?
Well, I think every movie that I make, again, every character I play is different. So Alice was very different from anything I've ever played before. So it was interesting for me to sort of play somebody that's much more controlled, that everything is very internal, that's you know, she doesn't really freak out. She's not in any way like a hysterical female. I mean, she is in control, and she's really tough in that sense. So um, it's different from anything. I mean, if you guys see my other films, you'll know that Alice is very different from anything I've ever done before. So in that sense, I try and make movies and more choose characters that are very different from things I've done in the past. So every movie is a learning experience, and every movie is a challenge because I've never sort of played that before. I've never gone there before. I haven't done that yet. So that's pretty much it. Apart from the fact that I really honed in my gun shooting talents, and I still go to the shooting range every week downtown and make sure that I'm not dusty.
Were you convinced that this was not going to be just another video game adaptation, but a really successful action movie?
Really successful, knock on wood, because I would love to make part 2. But just knowing the other actors involved, knowing how much I love the game, knowing how much Paul loves the game, I knew that this movie would be very different from a typical video game film, because you have a group of people that really love the game that are doing this for the fans, pretty much, which I think a lot of video game movies people make for the money. Okay, let's be totally honest here. It's not a director's dream to make a video game movie. Then you have Paul Anderson, whose dream it is to make a video game movie, and it's kind of this interesting situation because you get somebody that's as passionately involved with this video game as some people are to tell the story of their life, or, you know, what hurt them as children, or whatever abuse they took. So you have these very art, sort of honest films about people's internal turmoils. And then you have Paul who, makes Resident Evil, and he loves it just as much, and he's just as into it. So I kind of knew going into it that this would be really special. Hopefully it'll be successful too, but that's up to everybody else now. If it was up to me, it would be huge.
This touches on what we were discussing before. What are the most fascinating aspects of the role of Alice?
Well, her wet mini dress, I would say, is a huge, fascinating element. That was probably the main fascinating element for me because, like I said, I'd never worn a wet mini dress on screen before and had to kick and fight and run away from things and, still look good doing it. So I just wanted to sort of play the sort of typical, female in an action film part. But then again, it's like, this part is not typical. I mean, for all the, I'm very light about these things, and I'm a little bit cynical when I talk about action films because, you do have the girl, and it's very sexy, and at the same time, I think there is a place for that, and especially if that's not what you're doing for every film, and that's not your normal image all the time, it's okay to do something that might be considered a bit gratuitous by a lot of people. But you know what? I'm very male in a lot of ways myself. I treat a lot of men like men treat women, so I guess in that sense, I'm totally not scared of doing a few gratuitous things. Doing some gratuitous violence or gratuitous skin shine, Once in a while, it has its place. Hey, sometimes I like to watch films with men doing gratuitous things myself. So. And women, yeah.
How do you see the standing of the female action stars in Hollywood?
They're not obviously as successful as, Arnold Schwarzenegger was in his day. But I think that's yet to come. I think women are becoming stronger and stronger, and the sort of demand for great female action heroes is growing more and more. So I'm sure that in the next, 5 years, we're going to see some very, very well-paid female action stars.
What makes this film different from other zombie movies?
I mean, everything. First of all, there's no other zombie movies that were made based on Resident Evil, the video game. Second, there hasn't been a real zombie movie done in 20 years' time. Third, this is an action thriller. I mean, the zombies are a part of it, but you're not going to go see this movie just for the zombies. I mean, you're going to see this movie for the Dobermans as well. You're going to go see this movie for mini skirts. You're going to go see this movie for watching women kick butt and watching men go, "Oh, duck! Look out! Over there!" You're going to watch this movie because you want to see some really smart role reversal. So it's definitely, and it's got some situations in it that are so cool and so different and really interesting. I mean, there's this one scene towards the end where our group is stuck in this flooded lab and we got to get out because time is running out, but the computer won't let us out. And she says, you have to kill one of your team. And you'll understand when you see the movie why we have to kill one of the team. But either we kill one of the team and get out, or we all die in there. And the choice that we have to make is pretty insane. So you have these really cool little twists in the script that really separate it from not only other zombie movies, but just video game / action movies in general.
We've discussed actors and actresses you'd like to work with. Are there any directors you'd like to work with that come to mind?
Yeah, I'd love to work with Lasse Hallström. I'd love to work with Lars von Trier. I'd love to work with Milos Forman, Spike Jonze. Oh, God. I mean, the list could go on. I know more about the directors I want to work with than the actors, that's for sure.
Ever since the first image of you in the movie appeared, everyone's been asking the same question. Why the red dress?
Because we couldn't think of a logical way to get me down there in a tube top and a miniskirt. And I mean, the red dress, when you see the movie, the red dress does make sense because she didn't know what was going to happen. So, she was going to have dinner with her boyfriend, a nice romantic dinner. So the dress was laid out for her while she went to take a shower. And during the time she takes a shower is pretty much when she passes out and forgets everything. So when she comes out, the first thing she sees, she pretty much puts it on just to put something on. And it's just time to change. Everything starts. And so she's just stuck in this little dress.
Which scene did you like best? Which was your favorite to actually do?
Well, I guess the dog sequence was my favorite scenes because a lot of my training was made for the dog sequences. So it was fun to finally be able to put into practice all the things I've been working on for the past few months. But I think apart from, let's say, the dog sequence, which is really amazing and it's a really great part of the movie, the scene I was talking about towards the end in this flooded laboratory, I think is so interesting, and the way it's cut together is very cool. And man, it was so hard making it. It was freezing. They couldn't have warm water because it would condense on the windows. So we were extremely cold, and we got pretty sick, and so we definitely suffered a lot to make that sequence. So now it's really great to watch it because I think it looks incredibly real. We look miserable, and if you like to see that, you're gonna love this.
You'd love to see people in misery.
Yeah, misery loves company.
It requires it. In the film, there seems to be great harmony between you and Michelle Rodriguez. Was it like that on the set as well?
As long as I wasn't pushing any makeup into her face or trying to get her to wear some heels once in a while, it was fine. No, that's not true. During the flooded lab sequence, Michelle was having a great time spraying everybody with water, and we're already freezing enough. But she had this this big sort of plastic syringe that was floating around because it's like a laboratory. And she starts taking this and sort of squirting us. And, it's like the Chinese water torture, but it's like not much, but just enough to sort of really get you angry. And after you've done, 15 and a half hours in this flooded laboratory, the last thing you need is Michelle Rodriguez squirting water in your face through a syringe. So I got pretty pissed off at her, and actually we caused a big problem on set because we kind of started dunking each other in the water, and it got a little bit hairy. And Paul got actually very pissed off. God damn it! Just be professional! And if you know Paul, he's like, first of all, English, very proper. When he gets mad, he's like, I'm incredibly mad right now. I just don't know what I'm going to do. And that's like him very angry. So for him to come up and yell was just so insane. Everybody just went, ugh.
Do you have any next projects in the works now?
Well, for the moment, I mean, when you talk about, let's say, the future starting from today, I don't really have anything planned. I've been working a lot, so I just got a house in Los Angeles, so I'm kind of trying to stay at home a lot more. And, if I do something else, it has to be really important for me. But I finished a movie with Sam Jackson just a few months ago called No Good Deed, which Bob Rafelson directed. And for everybody that doesn't know who Bob Rafelson is, he did 5 Easy Pieces back in the day with Jack Nicholson. Postman Always Rings Twice. He's pretty much the king of independent films. He produced Easy Rider, so he's pretty much a bigwig in that sense, and a lot of actors really respect him and love him. So he's hitting 70 at this point. It's really hilarious. He's like this dirty old man. But we had a great time. It was pretty fun.
I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
I say that to his face, so don't worry.
There you go. That's about our time. Milla, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, guys. Enjoy the film.
Thanks to everyone else who participated. Be sure to check out Resident Evil, opening nationwide March 15th.